Humans are hardwired to find babies adorable. We even find these animals cute, despite their lack of classic beauty. Is it possible to be so ugly you're cute? This is Toliver. He's a 7-week-old Baird tapir living at Reid Park Zoo in Tucson, Arizona. Don't recognize a tapir? Well, they're not exactly calendar material, and you're unlikely to see these endangered animals in the wild. Only 5,500 Baird tapirs remain in the forests of Central and South America, so they're a rare sight except for in zoos like this one. That makes Toliver precious. Just ask his mother.
Tessa is a very affectionate mother. She gives lots of time cleaning him and vocalizing with him and smelling and bonding. They like to snuggle up next to each other.
From the start, Toliver has been an especially playful and curious young tapir.
He started coming right up to the keepers on day one and checking us out. Mom, on the other hand, doesn't like him to explore. She's very overprotective, so as he's wandering around, she often is chasing right behind him and trying to keep him where she wants him to be.
Clearly, he takes after his mother. He's definitely inherited her snout.
It's called a prehensile nose, which means that they can use that nose as an extra hand to be able to pluck leaves off of trees and put those leaves in their mouth to explore around.
That snout, which is his nose and upper lip in one, gives Toliver an excellent sense of smell. And it'll serve an additional purpose when he grows up. Tapirs, like many other mammals, can sniff the air for chemical signals emitted by other tapirs. It's called the flame-in response. This type of communication lets adult males figure out when a partner might be ready to mate. Toliver's already starting to practice a bit with his mom. You'd think with this superb sense of smell that Baird tapirs would find another behavior to be distasteful.
It's called coprophagia, which means that they like to eat poop. The reason for that is it helps maintain the good bacteria in their stomach.
Helpful for the tapir's digestion, but a smelly challenge for the zookeepers.
They like to go to the bathroom in the water. It's a very large animal, and keeping that water clean is a constant challenge. So we have a really big filter on our pool, but even with the filter, we always have to constantly be cleaning it.
A rare animal, yes. Glamorous, not so much. Glamour's not important, though, if your home is the rainforests, marshes, and mangroves of Central and South America. But being comfortable in the water is.
That's their main form of defense. If a predator's chasing them, they can go in the water to hide from them. And so they're very amphibious.
Toliver is still young, and swimming is an acquired skill. His mother seems unconvinced.
Even though he should be an excellent swimmer, Mom is still not letting him in the deep end of the pool. So he goes in and he splashes around in the shallow end, but if he tries to go to the deep end, Mom herds him off and pushes him back the other direction.
As a baby, Toliver is pretty good at hide and seek, thanks to his unconventional appearance.
When tapir calves are first born, they look like watermelons with legs. They got stripes and spots on them. It's a form of camouflage for when they're little. If you think about what a rainforest floor looks like with the lights that come through the leaves, you'll see kind of a dappled light pattern. And so those spots and stripes help them blend into the rainforest floor so that they can hide from predators.
At about 4 months, the stripes will start to fade, and they'll be totally gone when Toliver is about 7 months old. Change comes quick. When he was born, Toliver weighed about 6 kilograms, but he's growing fast. As an adult male Baird tapir, he will ultimately weigh a hefty 220 kilograms. Speaking of adult males, Toliver's dad is around too, but not exactly a presence in his life. Tapir fathers aren't typically involved in rearing, so dad gets the enclosure only when mom and Toliver aren't using it.
We keep him back there for the safety of the baby, but also for the safety of the dad. Mom is very defensive, and she outweighs Dad by about 100 pounds. And so we're worried that if we were to put him out there, that she might hurt Dad just trying to protect the baby.
Dad's backseat role seems to suit Toliver and his mom just fine. They seem very, very happy having the space to themselves. Gelada baboons do things a little differently than most monkeys. No bananas on the menu or swinging in the trees. But group hugs, that's more their style. At Dudley Zoo, near Birmingham, England, 2 male Gelada babies also have something else figured out. Be cute while you're young, because that's not your destiny. This is. But these two don't know and don't care what they look like. Right now, half-brothers Billy and Ambo are only interested in their mother's love. Addis is Billy's mother, the family's most senior female. That experience comes in handy with this wild child.
Billy, he's very headstrong, he very much knows what he wants to do, and he always runs around and pretty much gets his own way. He's just very, very naughty.
Then there's 9-month-old Ambo, on his mother Tana's back.
Ambo's the total opposite. Ambo is a complete wuss, bless him. He's very clingy to his mother, and because Tana is a first-time mother, so she has been a lot more careful with him in sort of how she looks after him.
Billy and Ambo's dad is alpha male Bono. With so many personalities, there's potential for high drama. But a blended family is the norm for Geladas. A typical family has an adult male with a harem of anywhere from 3 to 6 females and their offspring. Bono's not huge. Gelada males get to be just over half a meter tall. But he does have a hair-raising mane. He's mostly silent, but absolutely strong.
Bono is actually a really good male. He's quite calm and he doesn't freak out. He just stares at him and goes, "No, you can't actually hurt me." And he's just quite happy just eating and going around doing his own thing. He doesn't want these little ones jumping on him trying to play with him.
Females keep Bono and the family in line.
If they don't like him, they will all team up together and drive him away, because female Geladas don't put up with any nonsense most of the time from the males.
It's a small family at the zoo. But in the wild, families join together, especially if food is abundant. These foraging bands can grow to several hundred members. Geladas come from the high mountain meadows of Ethiopia. It's unlike the savanna or forest habitat of other primates. They've adapted to life on steep cliffs, few trees, and limited food. The zoo tries to mimic that mountain habitat.
We've designed the enclosure to sort of take into effect some of the things they would encounter in the wild. So they will, in the wild, you will find them up in mountains. They will sleep on rocky cliff ledges, which is sort of to help them protect themselves from predators. So we've got a few rocky cliff faces that they will go and sit under and maybe have a midday nap in.
Billy and Ambo like to spend time here with their mums. Billy's a bit of a wild card, but both boys are slowly changing their habits.
They are starting to spend a lot more time grazing now like the adults, and they do the shuffling gait, which all the adults do.
The shuffle is the Gelada's bum-sliding move. They do it because they're almost exclusively grass eaters. The problem is, grass offers very little nutrition.
So they will try and save as much energy as they possibly can. So mainly they will just sit on the bums and just shuffle along like this, tuck stuff in their faces with grass as they go along, and the babies are starting to do that a lot more.
Unlike many monkeys, Geladas rarely climb trees. In fact, humans are the only primates to spend more time on the ground than Geladas. And like us, they've got cushioned bottoms. The difference is Geladas are meant to sit, humans not so much. Most other baboon species sport a bright red butt to show off. Not Geladas.
It would be a waste of time them having, because they do sit on the bums all day. So they've instead evolved to have a nice bright red chest, which they're sometimes called the bleeding heart baboon because of it. And it serves the same purpose as the bum. It can show when the females are in estrus, or it shows dominance within the group the deeper the red it is.
Geladas looking for a mate will come running when they see that bright red chest. The boys are still growing into their hairless red chests, so they communicate in other ways. Not through touch, mind you. Many other primates spend a lot of time grooming each other, but Gelada's hands are busy picking grass, up to 10 hours a day. So instead of touching, they care for each other with their voices. Biologists refer to it as vocal grooming.
It's a very wimpy sound, particularly hearing it from the big males, but they go along and just sort of go, ah, ah, and it's a strange little sound here for such a big animal. Then the babies have started doing that with the adults as well now.
Geladas also communicate using body and facial expressions, some which give them a reputation for being scary and mean.
So raising their eyebrows, that would be sort of like a mild threat for them, just letting you know they're not completely happy with you. They do lip flipping as well, which would be just totally warning you away that you're in trouble. So we have quite large canines, they will flip the whole top lip up and just bare their big impressive teeth, and then you know to back off from them then.
That grimace is meant to ward off predators or rivals. After all, those teeth could really do some damage. The boys have their own repertoire of expressions.
The pair of them, they do have a little thing with us keepers. They will sort of bob their tongues out and smack the lips when they see us, so it's kind of like a friendly, reassuring gesture for a gelada.
They're cute for now, and Billy and Ambo have personalities to match. The keepers are enjoying it while they can. When Billy and Ambo are adults, that might not be as much fun. When giant anteaters get up close and personal, it may be much more personal than you'd like. They'll extend their snouts toward you, and then a very long, very slobbery, very sticky tongue.
It's kind of like, you're intimidating at first, but then you realize that there's nothing there that can hurt you. It's just a big tongue that comes out.
Those snouts and freakishly long tongues look unusual, even to people that work with animals full-time.
They are definitely the weirdest animal I've ever worked with.
In terms of weird, the only thing that can top one is another. Yep, that's a baby anteater on top of her mom.
Riding on the back of Mom, who's 108 pounds, that's gotta be cute because this is like a double-decker bus.
This is Maui, a not-so-little 4-month-old at Santa Ana Zoo in California. She can be hard to see, even in plain sight. Maui blends in when she's riding on her mom, which she does most of the time.
They look just like a bump on Mom, but of the same color pattern and striping and everything. Their tails is not as long, the hairs aren't as long on them, but they're fully haired and look just like a miniature.
This baby can conceal itself in other ways too.
When they sleep, they crow like a dog, but their tail hinges at their rear end and just folds like a big fan over them. They just look like a little dark bush or rock just sitting there.
They need all the tricks they can muster to survive. They're hunted and eaten in parts of Central and South America, and they're classified as vulnerable. This zoo is doing what it can to build up the population. Maui is the result of a successful breeding program. When she gets a little older, as early as 2 years, she'll be ready to have her own pups, and she'll go to another zoo to become a mum. It may sound harsh, separating mums from offspring so young, but it's what anteaters do in the wild anyway.
Once the babies are weaned off Mom, which is, somewhere near that 1-year period, Mom's gonna usually run into another male soon and get rebred. At that point, the baby can't be around Mom, and so Mom kicks the baby out.
Anteaters may look bizarre, but they're nothing to laugh at. They're built to fight. Weighing roughly 45 kilograms, giant anteaters are the largest of the 4 species of anteaters. They have extremely powerful shoulders and walk on their knuckles to protect their most powerful weapon, claws.
And they have 2 large claws in the center and then 2 smaller ones on the outside, and they can shred you. They hit you with those things, it's gonna tear a hole in you, and that's their main defense.
These claws come in handy in the wild when fighting jaguars and pumas, their biggest threats other than humans. Thankfully, the baby anteaters here don't claw their keepers.
You can pick them up and hold them. As long as you don't do anything quick, they're usually really easy going and just sit there in your arms. And our female is very good, especially in the morning. She'll just sleep and you can do anything to the baby.
She probably knows it's not good to claw the hand that feeds her, especially one that provides this nutritious, delicious gruel.
They just lap it up. And actually, our male is extremely fast at getting the gruel out. Our female's a little more dainty when she eats.
In the wild, anteaters have to work harder for their steady diet of ants, termites, and grubs. They sniff them out with their snout. Their sense of smell is 40 times better than ours. Once they've picked up the scent, giant anteaters use their claws to get at the bugs. Then they use their snout as a mouth. They don't have to chew, so they don't have teeth. Their tongues are covered in sticky saliva, which helps them hoover up to 35,000 insects a day. And a giant anteater won't have any problem getting that 60-centimeter long tongue into tight spaces.
You know, if you have pockets or a sleeve, the nose goes in that hole and then the tongue comes out and starts going bam, 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 and starts feeling around looking for things to pull out of that hole.
Maui's primary diet is still mom's milk. It will be till she's about 5 months old. But she's already willing to try other things, like yogurt. Her curiosity goes beyond food to exploring her world.
Some of these little babies will stay on mom all the time. Maui seems to be a little bit more adventurous. Most of my smaller ones like that, I rarely see them off, but we see Maui off a lot more.
Curious, adventurous, with some very peculiar body parts, and sort of cute. But it won't be long before Maui is a fully grown, fierce giant anteater. Wild and woolly doesn't suit everyone, but this fellow wears it well. This is Charlie. He's a Bactrian camel living at Dudley Zoo near Birmingham, England. And he's proud father of the newest camel in the compound, Fergie. She's just 8 weeks old. And this is Fergie's mom, Mandy. These lumpy, humpy mammals form a tight-knit family unit, and they've been that way from day one.
Fergie was born in the stable with her mum and dad, and she stayed with them at all times. The only time she's ever been separated was when we've had to weigh her or just give her a little checkup. But now, as you see, she's very happy living with them.
You may think Fergie has the kind of face only a mother could love. But Charlie dotes on her too. He's a great big 2-meter-high softie.
Male camels can be quite aggressive, obviously when they hit maturity, but since he's had Fergie around, he's a lot more chilled out.
Fergie may have softened him up too much.
Dad obviously used to be in charge of the little group, but now I think he's finding it that he's not as in charge anymore.
Of course, we all know who's really running the show.
Fergie's in charge, and Mum will do anything for Fergie, so he tends to have to take the back seat now and do what Mum and Baby want.
Fergie and her camel parents have some features that might look odd to us, but if she were in the wild, they'd be key to her survival. For example, Fergie could stand within a few minutes of birth thanks to her large, even-toed feet. Camels' big feet provide steady footing on the uneven terrain of Central Asian deserts and steppes. They walk in herds across sand and rock, sometimes for days on end. They can run, too, up to 30 kilometers an hour. If a young camel like Fergie couldn't keep up, she'd be in big trouble. Those big eyes and wide noses are also adapted to desert conditions.
They can close their nostrils when there's sandstorms, and they've got 2 extra eyelashes to shelter their eyes from the sand.
Even their ears are protected from the sand. They're lined with hair. Deserts are a place of harsh extremes. Temperatures can plummet, or it can be blisteringly hot. The camel's shaggy coat works for both.
In the winter, they grow this great big thick coat, and in the summer, they molt, and it all comes off, and they have a very thin coat, so they're very adapt for the weather that they have to live in.
That very furry coat is one of the things that distinguishes them from their Middle Eastern cousin, the one-hump dromedary. When you hear the word camel, you probably picture these guys. They're usually the ones in the desert scenes. But Bactrian camels have star quality too. Just check out that profile. And what about those humps? Dromedaries only have one hump. Bactrians have too. Right now, Fergie's humps are a little hard to see.
At first, you couldn't see them at all. They blended in with her fur. She's got lovely, thick, curly fur. I think it'll be a long, long time before those humps start to fill out and get the proper two-hump look like her mum and dad.
Of all the things that help camels survive, humps are most important. Imagine walking hundreds of kilometers with no food or water in sight. You'd be smart to bring along supplies. Humps are like a camel's backpack, but the contents might surprise you.
Everybody thinks they store water. They don't store water, it's just a fat source, so that they can go for days without food and water, and they can use the fat as a food source.
The humps flop over as that supply is used up. Since they can go without water for long stretches, they know to load up when they get the chance. A camel in the wild can drink up to 135 liters at once, in as little as 13 minutes. You won't see that at the zoo, though. They have a steady supply of water here. When it comes to food, Fergie's still feeding from her mother. She will until she's 1.5. But she's exploring other tastes.
She started having a little smell of the hay and the straw and having a little nibble, and we've just started introducing a few calf pellets just so she can get the taste of solids.
This family also enjoys chewing on bark. Being able to eat tough vegetation, even prickly plants, is an adaptation for desert survival. For Fergie, this peculiar combination of her mother's milk and rough vegetation appears to work. She's thriving.
She's so big. She's estimated about 5 foot tall now, so she's growing taller and taller every day.
It's a hopeful sign for a species in danger of extinction.
People need to know how rare they are. They're critically endangered. A lot of people think they're quite ugly, but when you come and see them, they've got a lovely personality.
Fergie has clearly charmed her keepers.
They just love her. She's just wonderful. Every day she's growing, every day she's doing something different, and she's just a pleasure to watch and work with.
Love and affection for a lumpy, long-legged creature. Now that's something you don't hear every day. As these strange lookers illustrate, baby animals aren't always cute. But what might seem ugly to us is usually an incredibly useful adaptation. Tapirs' noses, anteaters' tongues, baboons' chests, they're all features meant to help these animals survive.